We're going to talk about why loving yourself is the key to it all, and why loving yourself is the most important thing that you can do in life.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello and welcome to the Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagner. I'm your host, Jack Wagner, and here we talk about how to build, create, share, and just find the gratefulness that's in your life and how to bring it to your everyday life to just feel happier, healthier, and better overall. When you're grateful for something, I truly believe that just increases the quality of your life and how you're feeling with yourself. So that is my mission with this podcast. Why loving yourself is the key to it all. Ep.5. It never ceases to amaze me. We love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about other people's opinions than our own. Marcus Aurelius, The Meditations. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Episode 5 of the Grateful Podcast with me, your host, Jack Wagner. Today, I'm super excited to talk about, I think, the most important topic that we'll cover on this podcast. Today's concept is something I truly believe with all my heart, and honestly, if I could only ever make one episode, this would be the one. We're going to talk about why loving yourself is the key to it all, and why loving yourself is the most important thing that you can do in life. All right, it's a bold statement to start it off, but I truly believe that that's true. Also, I plan on making a YouTube video on this idea at some point because it's something that I align with so heavily. So if you'd like to check that out, you can go search my name, Jack Wagner, in the YouTube search engine. Click on the one with a picture of me and hit that little subscribe button to just help me out a little bit, because I make some cool stuff over there. Okay, as always, I'm going to start off talking about with what I'm grateful for. And today, hold on, I have to crack my back for a second. Today, I'm grateful to just have energy, be up and going. I'm grateful to be doing this right now. I'm tired today. You can probably hear in my voice, but I'm doing this and I'm happy to be here. Making these podcast episodes is one of my favorite things and one of my favorite parts of the week because I just feel like I learned so much throughout the process of it, and it's really fun. So I'm happy to be here. Grateful to be here, I should say. Okay, let's get into it. First question, why should we love ourselves? So I've been thinking for a long time now that there's a key to happiness. Myself and everyone else that I meet who is extremely peaceful and happy have. And I think I've figured it out. It's loving yourself. When you truly, truly love yourself, you don't need to constantly indulge in distractions or pleasures to find some sort of meaning in what you're doing. That's amazing. When you love yourself, you don't need someone else. You can be happy alone. You can be happy with yourself. However, you can also bring more to the table when you are with people, when you're not alone, because you're comfortable with yourself. Does that make sense? When you love yourself, no action seems detrimental to your life because you love and trust that it will all be okay. You trust yourself to make the right decisions to get out of that, right? But what is self-love? So I feel like one way to define self-love is to appreciate your value and see it in regard with the actions that you take. You don't settle for choices that don't match up with the value that you know that you have. And this is how your entire life elevates with self-love. When you love yourself, you realize that you have a lot of value in yourself, right? You're no longer, or I shouldn't say no longer, but you're not settling for anything that will bring that value down. You have a high bar. And in order for for example, people to become close to you, they need to reach that high bar because you love yourself so much. You're not going to let yourself fall down to another standard, right? You have high expectations because you know what's right for you. Jeffrey Bornstein, I hope I'm saying that right, the president of the Brain Behavior and Research Foundation, puts it as self-love is a state of appreciation for oneself that grows from actions that support our physical, psychological, and spiritual growth. Self-love means having a high regard for your own well-being and happiness. Self-love means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. His organization listed some evidence-based benefits of self-love, or they also call it self-positivity bias. They said that it comes with better mental health, more self-acceptance, higher self-esteem, more motivation, stronger determination, increased self-awareness, less anxiety, and better sleep. Healthy habits and mindfulness were always listed as ways to cultivate it on every list that I looked at. It's just a no-brainer, right? But it's not that easy. It's really not that easy. I looked at some more stats, and it was by gitnux.org, but they do a lot of stats, and it was cool. And I'm just not going to read all of them, but the ones I found to be very important were that 44% of people believe self-love is an important aspect of mental health. Okay, it's not even half of the population. I don't understand this logic. How can people not believe that loving yourself is going to bring more value to your mental health? All right, and the reason listed is that people believe it's a narcissistic tendency. And I didn't do much research on narcissism, but narcissism is a psychological condition, okay? Loving yourself does not have to be as extreme as narcissism. It isn't. It plain and simply isn't. They're different things. Loving yourself is a way of appreciating your life. It helps your mental health. Like, listen to the stats I listed before. Like, it helps. Also, 13% of women say they practice self-love regularly compared to 5% of men. So women find it more often as well. I think that the culture with men is to say, no, just work. Or like, this is a very stereotypical concept, but the masculine culture does not support the self-love concept, which I find very backwards, because how can you do the thing? A lot of like masculine media is like, just work hard, just go for it. And honestly, like, I agree with that. Like, yes, work hard, just go for it. Like, take the risk, like all that stuff. Like, just make a decision, start something. You know what that comes with? Or what that comes from? Healthy habits like build you to love yourself, right? Yeah, I did that. I just went and I worked hard, right? I woke up early every morning. Okay? I went and I worked hard. Like, that's that masculine media, I don't know, way of life. Like, wake up, go work out. Like, yeah, I did that. That taught me to love myself, because you don't need to constantly be like, work harder, don't sleep, blah, 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 blah. Like, no. When you do that, you should be proud of yourself. And you should be present enough in the moment to realize that this is good for you and you like doing this because it's making you a better person. So I'll talk more about I don't think that was very well articulated, but I'll talk more about it another time. Another big stat is that 1 in 3 people globally struggle with self-acceptance and self-value. Think about that. When you're in a room with 3 other people, on average, one of them is struggling with who they are, with accepting who they are. I see that as a problem. And 64% of people believe that self-love has a positive impact on their overall lives. Okay? If 64% of people think that, then let's do something about it, right? Let's do something about it. The other thing that I found very, very interesting is that 78% of people think that their self-love isn't as good as others. In the essence of it, that's not self-love, because you're comparing it to other people, trying to have a better self-love than other people. How does that make sense? In the end, people with self-love tend to be better decision makers, more clear on their goals and their purpose, have better relationships, lower stress and anxiety, avoid burnout, increase self-esteem, and feel in more control over their lives. That's from myonlinetherapy.com. All right, so with all the information that we just read, what do we know now about self-love? Well, we know that it has huge benefits on your overall life. Scientifically, it has huge benefits. Mentally, it's proven to increase your self-esteem, give you more motivation, give you more purpose, self-awareness. It also increases your sleep, and it gives you better mental health, right? But many people don't practice self-love. Many people don't put this into play, into action, right? And it's because a lot of people also don't believe that it's very important. So I'm going to talk about my personal experience real quick, because I think that can help make people understand really why it is so important. So basically, I'm still in high school, right? But I was a very comparative person. I would compare myself to just about everyone. What am I doing? Are my grades as good as his? Are they better than his? Am I as good at baseball as him? Am I really? Can I think about that? Am I better? I hope I'm better. My goal is to be better, right? I was always comparing myself to other people. And as that Marcus Aurelius quote at the beginning talked about, we care so much about other people's opinions. Now, he stated that we love ourselves more than other people, and that's where I disagree. Think about how you talk to yourself in comparison with other people. We're always so much harder on ourselves. How can we use that? How can we use that to be an advantage? Well, that hard self-talk, I had it all the time. And honestly, it's still there. That negative self-talk, how can you use that and reframe it? Well, that's kind of what I did, right? I was always comparing myself to other people, looking for other people's opinions and validation to make me feel like I did a good job, make me feel like I was successful, make me feel like I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing, achieving something, right? I never really thought deeply about this until I had an experience that made me think very deeply about this. And I used those thoughts in my head that centered me, right? This is ego. This is ego, what's talking so loudly. So many spiritual practices talk about the ego and how it puts us at the center of everything. But it talks about how ego is not, many spiritual practices talk about how ego is not all bad. And this is true. You can use that ego and you can say, okay, so what's it telling me? What's it really telling me? It's telling me I want to change. Deep down, I want to change. Cool. So I went in and I made a decision. This decision would become the most important decision, I think, or one of them that I've made. But the thing is, the decision had to be made every single morning. And it was to get up and give myself 2 hours every single morning. Get up at 5 every single morning to work out, to meditate, to take cold showers. Now, what this was doing is it was bringing me out of my comfort zone. And it was also giving me time alone to do things I knew were bringing value to my life. Right? And at this point, I didn't think about it a lot, but I don't think that I necessarily loved myself. Now, I'm lucky enough to have never been someone that doesn't love themselves, right? Someone that's unhappy. But I was not always like this. I was not always this confident in myself. I'd never felt this purposeful before. And it's because I think that there are many things that lead to self-love. For me personally, I've reached a point where I'm so grateful for who I am, and I love myself very much. As narcissistic as that could sound to someone that struggles with themselves, I think that anyone at the point of absolutely loving themselves, they would understand this. I know that nobody is capable of loving me like I love myself. And that's huge. All right, parents, I know you're listening to this and are going to argue my point, and I'm so grateful for your love, but I'm staying true to what I just said. I think the most important things in the process of getting here were the increased alone time that I spent in the mornings, the massive quantity of time out of my comfort zone, self-reliance, and making decisions that brought value to my life, and trusting that I would do that. Now, increased alone time isn't always ideal. However, it made a huge difference in my life, going from someone that never spent much time alone and spent time with people craving their opinions for validation, to I ended up carving out 2 hours each morning, like I talked about, where I just spent working on me. And this was a pact that I made with myself. And as I said, that pact was made, but I had to make that decision every single morning to keep going. And this built a relationship with myself I didn't really have before. And it shifted my mindset of wanting to impress other people to wanting to impress myself and stay true to my word that I made to myself. As I did it more and more, I began to trust myself, and that almost thought in the back of my head, like, no, you're not going to do it tomorrow. Like that doubt started to go away. I started to trust that I will make the decision that is best for myself. The internal motivation I'm talking about, it only really comes when you give yourself the opportunity to make your life a lot better through action. And I think anyone can do it. It also comes through, I think, meditation. And now, meditation, so many people say, well, it's just not for me. Have you tried it? It was not for me either. I was a fidgety guy. Always like this. I still am sometimes, right? Fidgety guy. Thoughts racing all the time. Never really clear. When you're never really clear, you don't get to know who you really are. And this increased alone time and this meditation, and it forced me to spend time with myself, where I got to know who I really was. And I recommend that for anybody. When you meditate, you can get clear on what you want. you can get clear on who you are, your goals, how you're going to get there, and get comfortable with yourself. I say go check out any meditation app and just try to get started, because there are a lot of free ones, and it's just honestly one of the biggest differences you can make in your life through a small action. All right, so on to the quantity of time out of my comfort zone. And when I say that it was a massive quantity of time, I'm not exaggerating. So on top of all those cold showers and runs and early wake-ups and meditation, for those of you listening that are not aware of this, I'm currently on a 10-month exchange in Toulouse, France, where I go to a French high school, speak French all day, and live with a host family. Now, at 16 and 17, talk about uncomfortable, especially at the beginning. It is so difficult to not be able to communicate with anyone around you, and really realize that you're going to have to come to terms that you're going to fail. Not just in school, not just grade-wise, but with other people, with conversations, in every single aspect of life, you will fail. And that failure is inevitable. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I would say for about 4 months straight, I was uncomfortable at just about every single waking moment. I was exhausted. And that really built me into who I am right now. Just a little over a month later. Right now, I'm over 5 months into this. Now, it's not to say that we all have to leave the country and go somewhere where we can't communicate to feel uncomfortable. But what we can do is, like I said, just take little actions that get you out of your comfort zone, because it's where you can really learn, again, who you are. It's where you can learn to trust that it'll all work out, and it's where you're going to learn to love yourself. And so you can make little decisions like, okay, I'm going to turn the water to cold in the last 15 seconds of my showers. It's going to suck. Like, you're probably going to fail. And that's okay. You'll learn from it. And that's where you build that self-love. Also, one of them I wrote down, but I didn't say, talk to strangers. I talk about this so much, but like, get out of your comfort zone by talking to strangers, because it's one of the coolest things. And once you feel comfortable enough to just say stuff to strangers, it opens up so many possibilities in your life, so many opportunities. Just saying. All right. Next, self-reliance. So that goes hand in hand with what I talked about above, as on this exchange, I've been forced to become extremely independent without much guidance from anyone else. As a teenager, I lived for the last 16 years with aid from my parents, obviously. And while I'm here, I still have their aid. I still have their help when I need it. But our relationships have changed very much from a parenting relationship to just more of a support relationship. And I'm very independent right now. I make all of these decisions on my own, and that leads me into the next one, making decisions that bring value to my life. And because without guidance, I'm forced to make decisions on my own, and that's it's the first time that I've had to make some of these decisions in my life that carry real weight. However, I've learned to trust that I will do the right thing, and that every single decision I make will bring value to my life. You heard that? Every single decision I make will bring value to my life. And that's such an important point in this. Because when you do trust yourself that every decision you make will bring value to your life, I think you've got it. I truly believe that every decision that I make, every moment, is going to lead me somewhere. It's going to bring some value to my life, and I should be grateful for it, right? It's where all this connects. Like, loving your life and trusting in that is also being grateful for everything that's happening. When I think of the people I know in my life that are the happiest, that have the most purpose, that just feel the best overall and take action that lights them up, they all love themselves very much. I have a friend here in France, his name's Simon, and he loves himself so much. And again, it's not in a cocky way. It's just he understands the value that he has as a person. And when you can do that, your value literally does increase. Your value to you is what you see your value as. When you think of yourself as, oh man, I suck at this. Man, I can't do anything right. All this stuff's happening to me. And it sucks. Yeah, well, you're right. If all that's happening to you and it sucks, it sucks. If you flip it, you're like, man, this is difficult right now. But I know that I can get through it. And any decision I make right now, it's going to bring value to my life. So let's get through it. This is going to build my character. And I cannot wait to see the grown person that I become on the other side, that I am on the other side. All right, well, to wrap this up, I just want you, listener, to think about for a moment, if you feel like you truly love yourself, or think about a moment where you do remember loving yourself. And this is a really hard question, and sometimes we don't really have an answer, but I just want you to see actually what you feel when you ask yourself that. Whatever the answer is, I want you to think about what you can use from what you learned today to cultivate even more self-love. Please think about that, because truly my message here is to help more people love themselves. Because when more people love themselves, there's going to be less and less and less of exuberant, showy behavior that craves other people's attention. And there's going to be less shenanigans like that in this world, because we're all going to be doing what's aligned with ourselves, right? The more people that love themselves, the more purposeful and meaningful action there is in this world. And when there's more purposeful and meaningful action, I have no doubt in my mind that leads to a more purposeful and meaningful world. Okay. Thank you so much for listening or watching, however you consumed this podcast, and I'll see you next Monday for the next episode. Thank you so much. Love you all. Bye. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagner. If you like the podcast and would like to support its growth, please consider subscribing to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out my YouTube channel under my name and see all of the positive content that I've put out there. Thank you so much, and I hope to get to see you next week. Love you all. Bye.